to another episode of Be Free, Be Fun, Be Fearless. I am Dr. Rana Al-Falaki, founder of Light Changes Coaching, and I am really delighted to be joined today from somebody across the pond, Laura Dohanes. Very early in the morning for you, Laura.
Yes, good morning.
It is, but we've just been jumping up and down across the screen from each other to wake Laura up for the morning and wake me up, having had a very long day here. Now, I need to tell you a little bit about Laura, and if I tell you she's a tax accountant, I don't want you to switch off at this point, which is why I want to wake up everybody sees the energetic person that she is. So, Laura is an entrepreneur and an innovative CPA that stands for a certified public accountant, and her mission is to create value for business clients through streamlined processes and invaluable financial information. Laura is a strategist, and she empowers her clients to look at their financials with new eyes, more informed and educated in understanding them. And we're gonna get onto her story and tell you exactly why she loves to do that, and really help you make better decisions for your business. One of her dreams and passions is to empower entrepreneurs to own their financials and create and teach financial literacy programs to kids. Again, something she's very passionate about. Let's teach our children how to do this as well. And this is something she truly, truly believes in. I could carry on reading her LinkedIn profile like crazy, but I'm hoping you're going to go onto it yourself, especially after you've heard her speak. And we're going to talk about so much of that. So, Laura, tell me, why is someone who deals with tax not boring?
Well, because let me just tell you a story. When I started, like my love for math was so animated that I was like one of those crazy kids. Like I was really fun, I was really popular, yet I was that person who just fell in love with math. And it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. How can you be fun and love math? It just, there's two categories of people. And I was asked this before, and I said, look, you guys don't understand. When I look at numbers, I see color. Like for me, it's like merging. It's like almost like a dance. Like how can you make them? How can you make a puzzle of all this that is just so bright and colorful? So that's why I'm so creative. Like when it goes to tax, I'm not going to just do the basics. I'm going to be creative and adding things that I just usually, like I'll give you a simple example. So if I work with a manufacturing client, they have strategies that apply to manufacturing. And then I work with someone else that does, let's say, professional coaching, right? And I say, what if we apply a strategy from a completely different industry that doesn't make any sense with you? Let's just assume we apply the exact same thing, put the exact patch of color on your business. What would that be? And it just creates amazing results. And that's what I mean creative, meaning mix and matching what applies to someone else, just see what it comes out. And sometimes amazing results happen because we dared, right? We were creative enough to look outside the box. And we were given a little puzzle, a little wooden, box, and we just stay within the wooden box. And if you just there looking outside, other pieces might fit in.
Yeah. It's so fun. I love maths as well, and people just don't understand that, do they? I mean, I absolutely love numbers. To me, they just make complete and utter sense. And I don't understand how other people can't get it.
Yeah, it's exactly. But I understand why they can't get it. I know by working with people now, I know they don't understand. Like by the way they look at me, by the way the questions they ask, I know they don't see the picture, right? I know that I have to paint that in images. I have to do like literally paint an image in the front of their eyes because they don't understand the numbers. So I always use examples from like life and nature, and like I love examples, and I think people relate through that because numbers is, and very few people understand the numbers. But it takes people who love numbers to really bring it.
Stop. That was a perfect bit to pause because I realized I haven't put my lighting on, and it's going to get dark here. So I'm going to bring you back. We're just going to edit this. Okay. Hold on. Gets I forgot, this happened the other week. It suddenly drops and gets so dark. It starts off fine. So you were on. I have got camera lights, but I haven't got them out. You were on. We're just going to start that bit again. And you were just saying, I paint pictures. I talk about nature.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers. So I'll just say, yeah.
So you know,
about nature.
So you take examples from nature to really bring us there. Everyone understands how a leaf changes color, right, before it falls off. So you take those examples and bring them, and that's how you portray numbers to people, because we take like really simple concepts from life and nature and just paint the numbers on it in the sense that they explain it. They understand what it means and how it applies to them, if that makes sense.
Give me an example.
To give an example, for let me. So let's say, let's say you have in accounting or in tax. Let's just say depreciation is such as the actual term of depreciation, how something gets used over time. I tell them, for example, it's like, let's say we buy a building, right, and we have a roof, and I say, your roof is just, it needs maintenance over time, and it just has a specific life, and in that we, it's just gonna die off. The same way you put a tree on, or it's gonna live, or you have anything that you build in outside, it has a life. Everything has a life. Nothing is endless. No matter, even you have the sequoia trees, they don't live forever. So you have to plan alongside the life of that specific thing, to budget how to maintain that thing over time. This is the piece where the people don't understand. We have to budget how to sustain that specific thing over time. And then what do we do? Do we have to buy a new one when it ends? What do we have to do? Because they understand that it has a life, but they don't understand that, hey, at the end, I have to come up with a replacement cost. I have to replace it. Either I buy a new one, can I just fix it? So how do you maintain a longer life? So, for example, you have a tree, right? It might not live forever. No trees live forever. So how do you make it last longer? What do you have to do? You have to budget it in every year, right? To maintain the life as long as possible. And at the end, what are you going to do? Right. And then it kind of rolls in with the vision. And we always start with the vision. I said, look, it makes no sense to plant like an orchard. But in the end, what do you want to have? You want to have a pond, right? So you have to look at the vision. So if you want to have a pond in the end, I'm going to dig it all out. What's the point to create something with deep roots? That's going to be much harder. So the vision really creates a strategy of what do you want to do, and that's how we go in and we apply things, and we plant little things alongside to create the path to go to your vision.
So they would come to you, and in that strategy, obviously you're trying to save them money in the amount of tax they pay, but what I'm hearing is you also just help them with that financial planning of where they want to get to be at the end, and therefore what they would need to do now and the steps that they need to take to get to that final vision, as you call it. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, we build wealth. So what we actually strategize on, and what we actually discuss with them is like, where do you want to be? So we start with the end in mind. I look at, okay, how old am I today, right? Let's say today I am 45, I'm 50-year-old. When do I want to retire? A lot of people now, they say, I don't want to retire. I hear so many people, I love what I do, I don't want to retire. Well, great, you're not going to be able to do what you do. And since we work with people different ages, when you're getting 60s, 70s, there's a different side of people that comes up. They want to help, they want to leave a mark in their communities. They want to leave something behind. It's the legacy. Is, if they haven't started, people really narrow in and they really focus on leaving a legacy. It's just something that happens to humans. Like majority of the people that I work with, they want to leave a legacy. They want the private foundation. They want to help. It's not just the producing of income. It's not the time to go and just do crazy things and produce income like crazy. It's just not the time. So we look at that and we ask them, what's your passion? Would you like that in the end? Well, so they, no, not right now. And once they get there, their passions become like, they literally catch on fire. Like literally they catch on fire. They're like, there's no kids in the house, I'm stable, income stable. So then a lot of things come out of them. So we plan for what that looks like, right? And to be able to do what you want to do, you need the funds to be available. You don't want to be stressed at that point that you have to pay a mortgage on a house or to have like the business that you have to run it. You have to plan to just be a chairman in your business if that's what you want to do, right? So we start with the end of mind and we kind of put little markers, right? Like to get to, let's say, $1 million, you have the markers, we need to do 50, you need to go like 500, 7. So we put the markers on and what does it take to get there? And it's a, it's it's, I say it's a mix of things for everyone. It's not just tax. You build wealth on different levels, and a business always plays a big role. Without a business, it's really, really difficult to build wealth unless you have investments. And even if you do investments, that's still part, that becomes almost part of your business is going to be to invest.
So I want to come back to that, but I also want to cover, you're so passionate. You've certainly woken up in the last 10 minutes. We started this interview, you're like, I'm really tired right now. Now you start talking about it all and you are just so alive. So I know you're very passionate about children, understanding this, but I know you're part of your story about how you got into this financial planning was you yourself being a child to your father and seeing what it did to him. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, and it's so interesting because the story is still alive today. And the reason why I say that is because the same issues that happened, I say almost 30 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Almost about 30 years ago. What happened, like my father was never a good employee. I think for as long as I know, he's had his businesses, and he had several types of businesses. He had like an auto shop, and he had like partners in, partners out, like all kinds of different shapes of business. And I was the kid that always like, how they keep them in drawers, and I would go in, and then where's the kid? I was that kid who was always like reading all the paperwork, all the, bills of sales, like every single line. I'm like, who's that crazy to discover everything, So, and they're like old brown papers, right? So I was always digging through his paperwork. I always wanted to see what's going on. What does he buy? What does he sell? Like, how does it look like? Right. And, I was about, I think it was 12 years old when he opened up a manufacturing company, and he had contracts like, he and his brother had open up this manufacturing company, and they had contracts with some companies in Italy. I think they were making like Calvin Klein clothes. They had big contracts with different types of companies that they would come and just do work, and that was back in Romania. That's a different conversation all together, like how Romania looked like when I grew up. But and they had people in 3 shifts. They were working in and out. They're working in and out of this, and it grew very fast. And I really wanted to keep the accounting and kind of keep the numbers. And they kind of hushed the kid. They said, kid, you just don't know. Right. And they hushed the kid away, say, stop asking the questions, stop like, and I'm like, because no one really takes time to look at the information. It's not like I was so brilliant. I just loved the paper, to look to the paper and read everything on it. I remember like, even just not the business, like birth certificates. I would go in my grandma's house. I would go in her drawer with documents. I would look how that looked like, how that certificate's like. I just love to look at the papers, to look, what does it say? How does it say? What, like, oh wow, that's it. Like, I just found it fascinating. Okay. So I would ask questions because you see things and they pop. If you keep looking at some things and you keep doing this, they just pop up. And by the time you're like 14, 15, your mind starts working. right? You have this inclination to some things, and they show up. And I was asking questions, but I never got really an answer. It's like, you don't know. So my dad and his partner, his brother, got into some sort of loans. Anyway, like long story short, uh, they did not review their financials. They were not secured in their business before they got out, and they grew tremendously. And the outcomes and what could have happened was very large. It had to do with the European Union or something like that. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but what happened is all went down, and it went down that they couldn't even like they were barely able to pay salaries to people, so they lost the business.
Despite
Not the
having
point that
to be a thriving business with lots of custom, but just turned into a
it just happened. You cannot even imagine. It happened overnight. It was like an overnight thing. And you tell people, it's like, how is that possible to have 60 some employees and you just have to let them go in an instant, right? How is it like, and it was not like the economy went down. It's not like something major happened. It was just a bad business decision. It's just as simple as that. They were not backing, they didn't seek counsel. They did not care to seek counsel. They said, what we know, the deal was good. It's not about the deal. It's about how strong are you to even take the deal. A good deal is not a good deal for you always, right? Just because it's out there doesn't mean for you it's going to do miracles. They thought the deal is going to be so good that they're going to be like building, they're going to do, I don't know what they thought, but it just didn't go out the way they planned it. So we had like a cabin out in the mountains. We had all this. He sold everything. Like he sold everything to be able to pay off, what he owned to be able to close the shop. He got so sick. Okay, and this is the point where it hit me, and it hits him still today. He was given 1 in a million chance to survive. He got, because of the stress, and he was not able to sleep at night. He was dreaming that he has money, and everyone, like, he had money dreams. Those dreams when you're scared, and the fear just like really cripples your body, and you become sick. And he was diagnosed with some rare pancreatic a disease, and he was given 1 in a million chances to survive. He was in the hospital for about 3 months, and he did survive. Okay. Should I say he learned the lesson? Do you want me to say he learned a lesson?
You were a teenager at this point, Laura, right?
Yes.
And so at that point, I've got to take you back well over 20 years. At that point, how did you feel knowing that you had, even as a teenager, had been warning him of this and wanting to look at this stuff, and then suddenly there's your dad with a massive chance of not waking up the next day? How did that make you feel?
Well, I don't know. I'm really resilient, I should say. Like I don't think, I'm like, oh yeah, well, you just take what you learned from it. What caught me and the lesson I've learned. He never discussed the business details with my mom. She never knew. And when we were at the point of almost losing the house we lived in, she was really upset, right? Never do this. That was for me a point of like, when you get married, never do this. A business that you make decisions that can impact your family, never do this. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So there's lessons to be learned. Like, don't do this stupid thing. It just doesn't make any sense, right? And instead of like shying away and hush the kids away, talk to your kids. Tell them your business decisions matter to your kids. I tell my kids now, and you can talk. I can give you my kids. This business that I open, it's a family business. I said, look, it's not my business. It's a family business. You guys are part of it. I'm teaching them how and why. Why do you do this? Why do we? They need to learn. They will never experience this anywhere else. It's not possible for a kid to be able to go and open up their own business, and really be successful without questioning themselves. Was this right? Without real examples, seeing people that have gone through it. Even more, living in a house where this is part of their life, where they see how decisions are being made. They see that a bad decision impacts you. We all make bad decisions. Okay, you just man up. You put your pants on. the big girl pants on, and you say, you know what, I'm going to eat it. And sometimes for the sake of being ethical, you do things. You eat the cost. You just eat it, right? So that's the point where I learned, be like, the business has to be part of the family. It's not outside. I'm not doing some, crazy business that the kids cannot be involved. It's not like the family cannot know, not that the husband cannot be involved in the whole process. We're all part of it. Everyone.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing you say as well, I mean, obviously in your case, your business is to do with financial planning and like you said, creating wealth. But so, I mean, what a wonderful lesson to teach your children. But I think in any circumstance, to bring your family in to understand your work, whatever your work happens to be,
Yes.
really creates more of a bond with that family, more of an appreciation. And I would have thought ultimately more of a work-life balance, because you're not separating your family from your work. You're fusing the two together so that you all understand that, okay, you might have to work really hard, but it creates the lifestyle, rather than just shunning people off. And then what happens is you don't get the support from your family because they start to become resentful that you're working so hard. Whereas I hear that you're bringing it into the family.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because our kids are really young. My oldest is 8 years old, right? So we have homeschooled our children. Up to now, we've been homeschooling our children, and everything that we do is a learning opportunity. How small or how big, right? It doesn't matter what it is. I see it as, no one could ever teach my kids life the way we teach them life by doing life. And that's the reason why we homeschooled all this time, and we're trying to instill in them everything, right? How are you going to go and work? My son believes that he's going to be 18 and he's going to buy a Tesla, the next day. And I'm like, well, you got to prepare, right? It's not just going to happen. He just, like, he could go by, and he dreams that the Tesla truck will come out and all this other thing. He's a Tesla fan, but it doesn't work like that. Well, like, he wants a business. I said, well, it's not that easy. You have to. So all these things, they're dreams. You weave the dreams into practical training. It's just as simple as that. It's nothing fancy. It's not like I don't have special abilities. I'm not extremely patient, as a person, but I love teaching the skill. It's not the actual math. You do that in school. You read in school. It's the actual life skill of, how do you go? What did I learn from my father by having multiple businesses? Multiple businesses his entire life. He's just addicted. He cannot live without having an active business, right? He's barely walking right now, and he still has a business. Yeah.
Obviously, he nearly died, and thankfully he survived. And how much of a did he learn? You obviously learned the lessons that financial planning is essential, and don't leave your family and kids out of it, because they need to know, if you're not around, what's happening, and it's not worth killing yourself over too. So I hear those lessons, but what did your father learn?
So he did learn to bring my mom in to what he's doing. So they're partners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at least he learned that lesson. If he learned the lesson on the financial side, I still warn him to this day.
And
there's some things that he does. He still has an itch. He has an itch to go over. You see that edge where you say, if I go beyond this point, this something happened. He loves to be on the edge, like, just like right there, and say, you know what, caution really plays a bigger role. It makes more sense, but he lives with an itch, and I'm like, what can I what he has just, I mean, he's not as crazy as he used to be in going and making ridiculous decisions, but it still lives on the edge.
And being his daughter, how much does he actually listen to you, albeit you are an expert?
It's very interesting that you asked that question. I just had a conversation with him last night, and I said, look, it took 2 minutes before we got into an argument. 2 minutes, not even. And I only have one sibling, and my sister, she's a radiologist. She's very grounded. She's an amazing doctor. And so I said, look, how come, when you talk to my sister, you never, argue. You have such a clean, like, there's really, any high pitch. It's everything is like flat, good, like that warm, fuzzy feeling. You know, when you have talked with a family member, you know, those family members you talk to, you feel like you almost got counseled, right? They're like, yeah, you're good. Oh yeah, I'm good. So they have this fuzzy, conversations, right? And it's how come you always have this fuzzy conversation with my sister, and when you talk to me, it takes 2 minutes to really heat up, and it always does, and it's true, and maybe because very much alike. But I've learned the lesson. I'm not as aggressive as him, and I said, look, I know why, because no one dares to tell you how it is. The thing, like you have to know that it takes strength and courage for someone to warn you. It takes a lot of strength for someone to say it exactly how it is, to put the dot on the I, this is the issue, right? And I work with entrepreneurs all the time. I know the itch. I see the itch in people that they have that, like the desire that you can't explain, that they would do, even if they fail a million times, they will do it again. It doesn't matter. For them, it's like, I'll get up, right? And I see that itch in him, and I admire the way he was, the resilience that he was able to pick himself up and do another business and another business. It's like, for me, it's an example. He got bonded with my mom. It's an example for me. You need to live it in your family. You're not like a standalone person. You can't survive as a standalone individual. So there's some really great examples. He still has like a side where he always goes just on the very end of the border. Like he always likes that. But if he listens, you know,
So the issue to do,
he's
guys, is obviously, like you say, with your sister, she's obviously in a completely different field, and he can hide from her, whereas he can't hide anything from you. So, and he's probably, there may be still a degree of maybe guilt or feeling like I told you so, and therefore his guard is probably up, and your values are probably still that little bit different. That and your daughter, they don't. I mean, I have to say, they do not want to take advice from their
oh yeah.
ever. And of course, you can offer advice, whereas your sister isn't going to offer advice to challenge him.
Well, she's the doctor, so she's the doctor, and he has a medical condition, so she's the she's the doctor, so she.
You can't win from any direction. I think
Yeah.
we all suffer from that. But often when there's a misalignment of values, that's often when you end up grating on each other, even though the intention is always there, of course, to help. But he's not hearing that.
But he does hear. Like, let me just say one thing. Like, I know the way he processes information by now. And when we talk, even if I am rejected in the sense that like, I know that he thinks about the things that we talk. And it's not that I am very heated. It's just I'm very passionate. When I talk to someone, like, and like they take it as wow, because I speak with passion. I don't like say, oh, I think you should just not do it. I think this is not a good idea. And I'm like, this is not a good idea. Like, right? Like, so it's just everything that I speak with too much passion sometimes, and it gets like, okay, don't get in my face, right?
I think it's actually, you just tell it how it is.
Yeah.
No, you don't. As I would say, this term in English, but you don't pussyfoot around. You just tell it how it is, albeit with passion, but with your belief behind it. So with you, so obviously, I mean, I think we've established a lot of this passion and this resilience came really from your upbringing, as well as obviously there was this inherent desire for what you enjoyed with numbers. So you went off, you trained as an accountant, and then what made you want to set up your own business? Because you yourself are an entrepreneur.
Like, let me just say, I think it started when I was a little kid. I think I was like 7, 8 years old. In Romania, it was a communist country at that point. They would send the kids off with just a couple of teachers. They would send them, to go, camp, and we were at the beach. And I remember I was given a lot of, like, sum of money and all of that. And I know, and they give you, like, they pack you some things, whatever. And I wanted to get something. I don't even know. I think it was an ice cream, or like, it was a ridiculous thing. I wanted an ice cream. So I was like, I have no more money left. I'm going to get that ice cream. So what I did, I started looking, what can I sell? And it was a ridiculous thing. I had a little blanket, right? In a communist country where people don't really sell things like that. I just pulled up my blanket and I sold it on the beach so I could buy my ice cream. And in that moment, I realized that I can sell anything, right? And my journey with selling things started whenever I wanted to get something. I said, what can I do to get it? I got I remember I saw this beautiful jacket, and my brother, my uncle, my dad's brother, he opened up another. Like in my family, there's a lot of businesses. They all own businesses, right? So everyone is a business owner. He made his own bad decisions. We're not gonna get there, but um, so he had a business. Again, he opened a different manufacturing business like years down the line, or no, yeah, I was in high school. I don't remember when it was, but anyway, I wanted a jacket. And I remember that jacket. It was like a gray jacket. It was like such a cute jacket. I'm like, oh, I want to have this jacket. It was like, I love the jacket. And so I had no money. So I asked him, what can I do? When can I come for you and work something for you to get that jacket? So I had to go in, and they were making some clothes. I don't know what he was making. And he had me iron some like pockets, right? Just to iron them. I said, look, I'll come. So I went and I ironed like 2 months, like a couple of hours, every day or every other day, something like that, so I can buy my jacket. So then, like, I sold things. I went and bought them wholesale. I went to Bucharest when I was in college to buy things in bulk that came from Turkey, that came from other places. Like literally, I took the train, I bought in bulk, and I would sell them in the dorms. Like I would do anything to get what I want. Like not anything, but it was the trader in this, right? Because you can do accounting. No one's gonna let you do accounting without your training. Out of a bet, I got a job as a preschool teacher. How is that even possible? Out of a bet. I said, I'm not gonna lose, right? Out of a bet, and I find myself in a job that I hated. And I'm like, 2 months I left. But they started really early on. I was done I started working in accounting really soon. As soon as I was a couple of years in accounting degree, I got hired, and I ran the show. By the fourth year, I ran the show there in accounting. I was doing the whole processes, everything in accounting. And then I came to the United States. But I was in, like, always looking, how can I do this? How It's not going and looking for a job. I never necessarily looked for where can I work? And I had jobs. I always worked. I worked as a salesperson, right? I would sell anything. I had like sold chocolates, I sold coffee. I learned everything you want to know about coffee, about chocolates, just to win that award. So it's not it's I don't know, I think it's a mentality that I had, that I don't necessarily go and look for a job. I look, what can I do to give me flexibility to sell? All the jobs that I got were not like sitting in an office and doing the work. It was very flexible, until I got to the accounting field, where it was, more of an office job. But until then, everything was, where can I go? In accounting, I would go in, I will do what I can to improve what I can. Everywhere I went, I wanted to improve a process. Oh, this doesn't work. And it would drive me insane. I would do my best to make it work, or to make something better, right? How you record this, how you store this. There was something unreconciled. I would fix it, and then I would get bored. I would be like I felt like there's nothing for me to do. Then I looked for another job, right? And then I realized that it's something in you that is just gonna look for more, and you change and change and change. And I opened my first office. I was here in Costa Mesa, in Newport Beach, right by the beach. It was like really nice. Um, I was in a corporate accountant in 2008. The economy went down, and who would they blame? The company was losing money. I was the head of accounting, and who would you blame, right? So I left. It was a gutsy decision to do, but I realized to maintain. I got sick at that point, working and stressing so much, and I luckily I realized that my health is worth more than just a job, and I left the job, and I opened my own company. And since then on, it was a journey of, you know, how a river just mends and just goes different ways until it finds the sea. I felt like that was my journey, going different ways, trying to see the climates, trying to see, do I have a partner? Do I not have a partner? Do I work better at this? So it's not failures. People ask, why do you keep changing? What's You have to understand that sometimes why a river doesn't go straight to the sea. You tell me why a river doesn't take a straight point to the sea. That will make sense. What does the river know? to mend its way many, many times to go down to the sea or come down the mountain. When it comes down the mountain, why doesn't it come just straight down the mountain? Many times it doesn't. There are always many ways. The only way you learn and you see the ground you're in, how grounded you are, what are you grounded on, where do you, how resilient, how can you adapt? Who do you serve best? Right? Unless you could take this road. And I got to a point where I have so much peace that I am in the right place with working with the right people, right? Because I am a small business, fan. I am a small business myself.
Laura,
I
that's
just, yeah.
beautiful, beautiful metaphor. And it's funny because I was just writing an article yesterday about somebody who is walking a very, very long journey. And so it's a similar kind of thing of actually, if that river is just going down a mountain and heading straight into the sea, it's just too fast. And you're going to get collateral damage on the way because it's going to get acceleration and velocity, and it's going to pick up tons of stuff, and it's too fast. You can't get there. You can't learn any lessons, and you get there too fast, and it's not necessarily what you wanted. Whereas if you take that chance to meander and have a chance around, to look what's around you, to pick up what you need to pick up on the way because you're going at the right pace, drop off what you need to drop off in the process as well, and have that change of scene.
Yes.
You're looking around and you're changing direction. It's not one dimensional. By the time you reach the sea, you've done what you need to do so that you have that beautiful experience that you needed to have. I mean, I love that analogy that you just raised, because we could pick it out and make so much of it to create the life that you want. And of course, that's what you do in your job. You're picking up these strategies, helping people enjoy the meandering process, but to pick up the strategies they need to. So when they get to the sea, they're equipped with everything that they envisaged and wanted, right?
Yeah. And it's just, sometimes you need to pick up your wife in, right? And maybe there's a perfect spot for her. We're bringing kids in, like a majority of the businesses that I work with now, we're bringing the kids in. If they get to an age, I say, can we give a job to the kid? That's the first thing I ask. I say, how old are your kids? Can we give a job to the kid? Can we bring the kids in so they know? That's the first thing. Once they get to an age, they can definitely understand. They can pick it up. It doesn't mean that's going to be their future. It means that they get nurtured by what they learn from the process. It teaches them valuable lessons. So in that process, you go and you leave an impact in so many different people's lives, in so many different places, because you've been that path. And that creates a meaningful life. That gives you, I have, I have a need of significance. And that's why I'm always searching. I know my need of significance is really high. And I do things many times, it's not just the money. It's not just what you get out of it. It's the significance that I have left the mark, right? So in the end, I know that feeds me that need of significance, to do things that would impact other people.
Yeah, and because I could totally relate, like you. I mean, people get worn out with me because they're like, oh my God, what is she on now? What is she doing the next week and the next month? She never, ever sits still. And it's, and I do stuff, but I do it to the best of my ability. It's not that I cop out or that I stop halfway through because I can't do it. I do it, I excel. I almost outgrow it, and then it's like, okay, what next? I leave that legacy behind, and on to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Just like you, which I know is why we get on so well. So we are what we call the doers in life, but also, I don't think I ever really arrive. And it's not that I don't get satisfaction from what I do, because I do, but I also want to make it better, and I want to make it better for other people around me as well. So it's having that passion in the first place and constantly pursuing the purpose, like I say, the significance, but recognizing that the purpose doesn't stand still either, because the purpose continues to evolve and grow. And that's what I'm hearing you say as well.
Yeah, and here's a realization that I made. Like all this money and all of that, like that happened. It really took me to a point where I know who I am meant to serve. Okay. Now, the journey doesn't stop because it's a different dimension that comes on board now. What more can you do for these people that you are meant to serve to really take them to the next level? So it doesn't stop, like, You stop the mending in a way, but now you go to deeper grounds. You go to, like, you know, it changes the nature of what you do to really serve the people better, right? So you bring more, and that's why we're doing the academia. That's why we're trying to build some sort of academy for entrepreneurs. We're trying to make it so simple. Okay, I'm trying to bring it not from a point of a business person, from a point of, and you know, what would your accountant say? What would your advisors say, right? Um, to really own it. It's really my thing. It's like people believe I hire you out, just tell me the bill. What's the bill? What do I get? What's the bill? I hate that conversation, right? That you're not my perfect client if you ask me, you know, just do your job, you know, send me the bill, tell me how much do I make, and end the discussion. I love the educated client, right? My perfect client is an educated client who actually wants to know. They want to own it. Unless that was my dad's mistake. He didn't own it. He just wanted the bill. He just wanted the payout, but he didn't own it. Okay. So that's the power of really knowing what to expect. If I'm doing something right, what would I expect to see? Don't let someone else tell me what I should see. Like right now, we're all educated. When we go to the doctor, it feels like we're the doctors. I tell my doctor everything. It's like, oh, so sometimes they wonder, like, am I the doctor, or is you know, he the doctor, right? But we go fully educated. We made the list.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm hearing you say as well is that it becomes a win-win situation, because otherwise you'll just drain yourself. You're serving somebody. A, they might not be appreciating you, but also when they don't own it, they don't excel as much, and you get your satisfaction out of really seeing that person excel.
Yes, yes. So that's the point where, yeah, that's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you approach it from
very
a
nice. So that's
higher level of energy, because the one thing I did want to touch on as well is, like you say, you became ill, and I know when you are such a doer, and I know from my own experience, if all we're doing is give, and we're getting nothing back, and that doesn't mean we want people to thank us. What we want is we want to feed off that, the other person's excitement as well, because otherwise we get drained. There is an element of self-care that needs to go on here too.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you want me to. Yeah, if I can bring up right now that we, you know, we just decided in the middle of COVID to move across the country. Actually, in the middle, it's right now. It just happened a month and a half ago, and it was a rapid decision. But we realized that living in California does not really serve the purpose of. It doesn't really match the whole vision that we have for our family. And you know, you have to, you know, it takes courage to admit the things that work, and I mean, doesn't take, it takes courage to admit the things that don't work. A lot of courage to say, hey, you know what, this has been an amazing time, it has been great, but this doesn't serve our family well right now. So because of that, we decided to move across the country, to move close to the mountains. um, and you know, we can go in a place where we're by ourselves. I would love Colorado, I would love Utah, I would love those states because they're close to mountains and it's dry. I don't like humid places, but you know, I love dry. Um, but it's not, we don't have any family, so I'm not going to move in a place, a total stranger. It's too late and it's too harsh for the kids to just take them in a place where they don't know one. So you know, we have family, and we decided to move to Tennessee. And when we visited, we just fell in love with the place. I felt so inspired to be out and to actually see the trees. So we actually already bought a property there, and with a little, like, you know, little forest type in the backyard, and I just get inspired, right, by being and seeing the nature. So you know, sometimes you just have to, you know, own your own thing. Like, what what helps me excel, what helps me do better. So if I'm in a good state of mind, if I am in a place of rest, if I am in a place of abundance, I can help my clients, I can help the people around me. If I'm drained, no one feeds off of it. It just creates chaos, right? So it's realizing that you have to put yourself, like literally, you have to pick yourself up and put yourself in that place. No one's going to give it to you. I've learned this many times. Like, no one's going to hand you anything. No one comes with the magical wand and say, you know, you should go live here. You should do this. You have to pick yourself up, make it happen, design the place you want to be. the place, they design the place that's good for you and your family, right? And really, that's what we decided to do. And we're in the middle of packing, in the middle of getting it all done, and we're moving in November. So I am very excited. Actually, it feels so good. I never thought it's going to feel so good, but you know, the values that we have, the principles that we have, you know, the way we conduct our lives, really California became a place where it's a little too I don't know, too out there for us, and it just became too crowded. So, you know, seeking a place that really kind of enhances the values that we have and the principles.
Exactly. So aligning with who you are and recognizing that you need nature around you. You don't want to be somewhere that's extra crowded. You're already an entrepreneur, so you can work from anywhere. So you've created that flexibility for yourself. You create your design, just like you do for your clients, you know, and then being prepared to take the actions, take the steps to also look after yourself, knowing that if you are too tired and exhausted because you don't have those things that feed you, then you're not going to be any good for your clients or your family either. And of course, you saw what happened to your father. So it's about following your purpose, following your passions, and also aligning with who you are, because you've done a lot of work on yourself. You know, you are such a high energy resonating person. You are very resilient. You see the opportunity in everything. You see the purpose in everything. You love to serve. You know, these are all high energy principles. But you are being your true self, which of course is what you then want for your clients as well, which is, like you said, you're not interested in someone who just wants to hand over the reins to you, because you want them to know who they are so that they create their design, and then
Yep.
you facilitate it. And you lead by example.
Yeah, and it's, you know, yeah, and you know, it's so interesting. I remember when COVID started, and I'll take you back a little bit. So when COVID started, a lot of the clients were, a lot of people were panicking. They were calling me. They had no idea what to do. They had to close, and they were like panicked that they have to stay in the house. And I said, you know, there's so many things that are worse than this. And I took them back on my journey. I said, look, you know, when things happen that are out of your control, that's the time where you have to be thankful, and you have to look in yourself to find the places that you've overcome. It's just as simple as that. Like, God has taken me to various places in my life. I grew up in Romania. It was communist. I had hot water twice a week. We had cold water on a schedule from 8 to 10 a.m. in the morning and from 3 to 5 p.m. in the afternoon. That was all the cold water that if you can turn on the faucet, there was nothing there, right? The heat was regulated. You couldn't drive your car on the street. People don't know these things. You couldn't drive, like people would have like even numbers would drive one Sunday. The other Sunday, people would have like odd numbers would be able to drive on the street. You can't all drive at the same time, right? So we were regulated. We were given like 2 kilos of sugar, 2 kilos of flour, 2 kilos of rice, and that was it. For a family of 4, that's all that you get. And that's the end of it. And we survived. And we actually, all this resilience came from places of scarcity, from places of telling you you are not allowed. You're all average. No one is above the average. You're all the same. Well, yeah, guess what? We're not all the same. But in places when things get hard, when things happen around you, that's the moment that your biggest treasure is where you've been through, right? I have my own journey. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone has overcome so many things. Everyone has to look in their own, I would say, look in your own life. Where have you come from? What have you overcome, right, to get here? And when you think about what the things that you've been through, many times this COVID is like a piece of cake. This is not the worst thing that happened to us. I mean, I don't know how to tell people. I had COVID. I was sick for more than a month. It's not the worst thing that happened to me. And if you don't let it get to your head that, oh, this is the worst thing, and it brings panic and brings, the minute you think that, you just can logically perceive the world as it is. You can't make educated decisions. You just make stupid decisions like my dad did.
You become inward thinking rather than outward thinking, because you become into yourself.
Yeah, so yeah.
rather than see the opportunity. You're a very outward thinking person. You see the opportunities. You're always looking. You're looking for the strategy. You're looking for the opportunity. You're looking how to turn something into a negative into a positive. When we feel overcome, when we feel stressed, when we're overtired, when we don't look after ourselves, when we have fear, we become very inward thinking. Our world becomes a very lonely place where we start relying on other people to look after us, and we don't know how to shift ourselves out of it, which unfortunately is where an awful lot of people are at the moment. But we need people like you, Laura, and like me, who open people's eyes to realize that you can, if you're just prepared to take the step, and you're one of those people who will hold their hand, because you must get a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs who are frightened.
And you know, fear cripples you. Fear cripples you. It's just very crippling. And I remember my grandfather, he used to tell me, like, you know, about fear. He said, you just cannot let fear come to you, no matter what it is. I would have a fear of, I don't even know, spiders or whatever it is, like ridiculous things, any small fear. And I am that person. I'm not like so courageous and brave. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not the bravest person. I'm like, living in the city has made me more fearful of the little things that I've ever been. And I'm really taking a leap of faith going out in nature, where I'm scared of my own shadow. I can't even, you know, I can't even get outside. Like, oh my gosh, what's that? So you know, I'm scared of bears, and there's a lot of bears in the, you know, in the country. Like, there are a lot of like coyotes and all of that, right? Mountain lions. And so it's like, okay, you know, I have to own it. I have to really embrace that I'm fearful of it and see what can I do. So I'm getting prepared. I'm actually studying. You know, fear can bring a great benefits. If you're fearful of something, study it. How can you overcome it? Like, I'm studying right now. I'm very honest. I'm studying right now, looking what happens if I meet a bear, right? I need to know the ins and out. I want to have a big overview. If I meet with a bear, what happens to me? What do I do? How do I protect my family? Because I can't climb out on a tree.
What do you need to do? I remember there was a lot of training in this. I remember when I spent some time in Canada. So you're not supposed to run, though, right?
You're not supposed to run. I mean, how do you become this big? Like, you have to become a giant, right? You have to. So I'm always thinking, okay, never go alone. Never go astray from people. Go in a group of people. If it's a group of people, very, very little likely that a bear would come and attack you, because there's a lot of you. Never go alone, right? That's the biggest thing. Even if I just know that if I'm out and you have kids and all that, don't let it go astray. You know, number one lesson, do not go alone. Go to a big group of people. Very simple, right? It's the simplest thing. Like for coyotes, for example, you know, don't leave little animals. If you have a puppy, don't leave the puppy outside. The coyotes will come, right? So there's so many little things that you can do, and they're not hard.
We wouldn't leave vulnerable people, would we? So why leave little vulnerable animals in those situations?
Yeah. So that's what I think. And there's an amazing quote, and remind me the name of the writer who wrote Narnia. It's slipping on my mind. Can you? Who wrote Narnia?
D.H. Lawrence, I think, isn't it?
No. So he has a quote. I'll find it. So he has a quote that it resonates with me. That's absolutely you know, kind of defines my life and kind of my perception of how I see things. Because I find myself an incurable optimistic person.
Which is wonderful.
I don't. That's yeah. It is just, you know. But he has a quote. Let me just find out who wrote it, because I don't want to give you who wrote Narnia. Give me a second. Let me just find it really quickly. I'm like C.S. Lewis. How can I forget? But anyway, C.S. Lewis. So C.S. Lewis has a quote, and he says, "There are far, far greater things ahead than anything we leave behind." So this is a defining quote for me to look at life. So always look, it doesn't matter where you have to do, what you have to move towards. It's always look at the excitement of the greater things that are coming along, the greater things that are coming on the horizon, that are greater than anything we leave behind. That's such a powerful thing when you think about it. Now, again, you know, I am, you know, I am a Christian, so I always like we think about eternity. So, and I know people think about eternity in different ways. We look at the whole thing, like, what do you leave behind? How do you trace your mark, right? But we look at eternity and how all this flows and how this kind of plays a role in how you live your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving, just continue to move yourself forward. And I think when you talked about excitement, it's such an important thing, because when you are crippled by fear, it's so difficult to truly believe what's around the corner, you know, the meandering around the river, like you say. Whereas if you just try to live your life with an open mind and with anticipation and excitement for what's to come, you might not know what's around the corner, but feel excited and truly try to believe that it's good and it's going to be there to serve
Yes.
you. It's going to benefit you no matter what happens. Even if it is tough, it's going to serve you and benefit you in some way.
Even if it doesn't.
It's a different way of approaching
Even
life.
if it doesn't work.
Even if it doesn't.
Even if it doesn't work, Rana. Yes.
Because
Even if it doesn't work. I don't, it's not a failure. People think, oh, you know, too bad I wasted my time. I wasted, you know, 2 years of my life. Without those 2 years wasted, you wouldn't have gotten to the place you are today. And I always look at, and I reviewed historically my life, and I was having like a meeting with my husband, and I said, look, all the things that, you know, I hated along the way really shaped and created this. You had to be born in a communist place to really value some things. You really had to be born in a place where I was told you can't do this, you cannot rise above the average, right? To tell you, like, to your face, you are average, you cannot be more, you're not more, you're not meant to be more. To really rise up above that, say, you know what, you can't dictate. I'm not saying I'm more, but I'm saying that I can be excellent at something. You can put that down, right? You can't dictate who someone is by just putting in their brain, right? So you need to be, you know, I needed to be born in those places, to be living in those places, to really help me get out, right? And remember, like, I was in some seminars a while back, and they were talking about some trees. And I don't know how the trees are. I think it's the same. It's how they make frankincense. Like, I don't know if the tree is called frankincense or not, but it's a frankincense oil they make. Okay, and I know they are right now, the best frankincense is on those islands in, I think it's the Middle East and the Egypt, and, you know, Africa, right there, Africa, Middle East areas, where in, like, I think it's Omar, and they have the best frankincense, and it lives in such harsh places. It's like a desert, it's like stone, and it comes this frankincense in the tree, and it comes the bark and the oil. You have to, like, the local people know how to really take the bark out. Really, they chop off the bark to squeeze and gently to get the oil out. And it's one of the most amazing aromas that you can find on earth, soothing for any semi-purpose. It's one of the most expensive oils,
and so beneficial.
right?
It has a huge multitude of health benefits, frankincense
I
oil.
use it for so many things, and I get sacred frankincense that's like found in very few different areas, and it grows in the harshest decision in the harshest places on earth. Only a few people can harvest that oil, right? Yet it produces one of the most valued, the most precious oils that can produce, that could help, like, cure, that could help so much, like mentally, emotionally, physically. It's just like it's like a miracle oil,
So
right?
something so rich coming from something so scarce, or something
Exactly.
scarcity.
Exactly. So sometimes, and you see all these big giants, like if you look at the big giants that have shaped, you know, are like, you know, that make something great. Majority of them are coming from a place of scarcity. They're coming from a place of, you know, harsh childhood. Like they were really, you know, pinned down, and they just came out greatest that they could ever be. And I think that's the secret. I'm not saying we're going to be the greatest. We can be great in our own environment. We can be great for the people we touch. You can just be, it doesn't have to be well, you have to be known internationally everywhere to be the greatest. Greatest to make impact and create that impact to people that surround you.
We're great with who we are, and so we're great in our own right, and
Yeah.
in our own unique ways. And we should say it's not so much scarcity, is it? It's in from adversity. It makes us who we are. I know my own.
Yes. Yes.
One of, it's one of a massive amount of adversity and negative life events, but I never look at it, oh, that happened to me. It's always what happened for me, because it's made me who I am. And I know the same for you. And I know, and for me, my favorite saying, which is my own words, is, I don't believe in regrets. There are no regrets. Everything you go through in life is a learning opportunity, and it makes us who we are. It
Yeah,
truly.
and that's great. Yeah, that's great, because yeah, and it's such an amazing quote. It's such an amazing quote. It's not worth occupying your brain with regret. It's just there's not enough room in your brain to put that in. There's just not room.
It would just be a drain of energy. It's how can you move forward, be outward thinking rather than sit there and muster. Although sometimes you need to sit still with it to really understand what you're learning. That might be when you put the anchor in the boat on
Yeah.
the river and just slow down a little bit. And there are benefits to that too, which is the other side of COVID, that being forced to slow down. There can definitely be some benefits from that respect as well.
Yeah, yeah, and for example, having an activity-full life where you go out and just events and all this, and just to kind of forces you to stay, a little bit closer to home and closer to your family. It really, yeah, I mean, it brings a lot of benefits and appreciation for the things that, you tend to kind of lose, they get out of sight when you're always out and about
Yeah.
and taking,
And those are my
which is
clients.
great.
Those are my clients. It's the doers in life, but we're just too busy being that we drain ourselves, and we're too busy doing all the time, that it creates too much distraction, and then we realize that we don't have fulfillment, or we don't have balance in our lives. And so it's how do we recreate the balance and the sense of fulfillment so that we can have wonderful relationships and great abundance and a great lifestyle and a great career. But by just stop doing and start being, which of course is about raising our energy and our level of consciousness in every respect, and turning I can't into I can, turning what isn't possible into the possible. We could go on all day.
Yeah.
Laura, I know we're so aligned, you and I want people to be able to find you, because everything you've talked about, I hope whoever's been listening or watching realizes that, God, yes, she might be a CPA, but boy, does she know her stuff when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, but also identify where her passion and her purpose truly comes from with all of this. So, you cannot go wrong with hiring Laura. So, but obviously you don't work with everybody. So the best thing to do is to connect with her, Laura Dohanes, spelled Dohanes. Connect with her on LinkedIn. Reach out to her, and then what she'll do is she'll then arrange to have a free 30-minute consultation with you and see how she can help you, and if the two of you are a match in order to be able to move forward. Is that right, Laura? Did I get that right?
Yeah. So, in a word, I would say, if you want a partner in your business that would really kind of bring the financial, to your face, and say, this might sound good, this might not sound good. You want a partner to help you grow your business. Now you could be in the United States, or you can be outside the United States with the business in the US, or investments or properties, or you name it, in the US. So all of that sounds good. We love to partner with people, and our perfect client is a client who really wants to know what we do, and how we help them, so they can really understand and realize the benefits they're getting from working with us. And at that point, I love to have a conversation, and we see, if it's a mutual fit. Like, if you want to hire me, I hire you. It's a mutual hiring process. So definitely, I would love to have a conversation if you're one of those entrepreneurs. And majority of my clients have multiple businesses, because they're serial entrepreneurs. They just can't stop. They see the opportunity and they just go for it. So I just love to work with people who have business, and they just love business, and how they and we love strategizing for them to really get the best tax planning while they build their wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. And build the wealth and build the vision at the end of it, which is fantastic. So do reach out to Laura, Laura Dohanes, Dohanes. You'll find her on LinkedIn, and just tell her you were you heard her on Be Free, Be Fun, Be Fearless with Rana Al-Falaki, and you want to reach out to her. And yeah, oh God, I'm such a shame I'm in the UK. I need one of you.
You have to have a business in the, you have to open it. Yeah, you have to open shop in the US, I say.
I need one of you here, absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, Laura. Brilliant speaking with you today. Thank you for joining me. That's all we have time for now. So I'm definitely sure you've been inspired and reassured and motivated and certainly enlightened listening or watching us today and hearing what Laura has to say. But for now, my 3 final words to you. I am Dr. Rana Al-Falaki, founder of Light Changes Coaching. Be free, be fun, be fearless. Bye-bye for now. Feel on top of the world with Light Changes Coaching. Do you feel like burying your head in the sand, hoping it will all be fine when you come out? Do you know what you want, but no idea how to get it? Are you stuck on the treadmill, repeating the same old patterns, wishing the answers would just be there for you? How great would it feel to have those answers right there in the palm of your hand? Or did you know that there is a way to get immediate answers, fast resolution of inner problems, and quick access to a higher state of awareness? After 20 years of helping people, I have perfected a special technique that allows you to tap into your intuition. Connect with your intuition in just 5 minutes a day using this special technique, Dr. Rana's gift technique, the guided intuition and fulfillment training, and you can have those light bulb moments every day. So get what you want, a job that gets you excited when you get up in the morning, a relationship where you can look across the table and think how much you love that person, a body that you're proud to have and look in the mirror and absolutely love, a bank balance that you're not afraid to look at. My gift to you is simple, quick technique to access your intuition and give you the instant answers you need to get unstuck without having to do lengthy meditations. So head on over right now to lightchangescoaching.com.